button has been pushed.
And we're live.
And we're live from Detroit. We're not in Detroit.
No, we're not.
We're about 3 hours from Tampa. Hour and a half from Vegas.
We'll be in Hawaii by tomorrow.
Definitely be in Hawaii by tomorrow. It's the 26th day of 420, and we are, I mean, kind of like unintentionally but coincidentally in quarantine.
Yeah, we're not quarantined because the government told us to.
We're quarantined because everything shut down and completely ended the tour, the Freedom Tour.
Freedom Tour?
It didn't end it. It's just virtual now. I like the whole virtual thing. It's even an option.
It's 2020, dog.
It's 2020, dog. We can do it. But we don't even know where the Libertarian National Convention is going to be held this year. Did they do the DNC and the RNC yet? Was that a thing?
Yeah, do it.
Yes. I can't keep up with politics because I fucking hate politicians. Because, you know, since 1937, at least for us cannabis users, there's been an all-out war against compassion and nature and a plant. And even though we still see laws and legalization becoming a thing, we still see one cannabis arrest every 50 seconds. In fact, I saw an article that said in Arkansas, which they just legalized recreational, I think.
Let's find out.
Let's find out. Their arrest rate has risen by 50% since they legalized. So that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, which is why as soon as this 30 days of 420 is over, we are going to get serious again, but kind of in a funny manner.
So they have medical.
They have medical. They have medical, and the arrest rates are risen by 50%. It's frustrating. You know what happened in Maryland when they opened their medical program?
Patients started getting arrested because the police didn't know the law they were supposed to be enforcing.
I think they knew. I think they just chose to act stupid while they could get away with it for a little bit. I mean, you had people that were actually getting arrested leaving dispensaries. And one kid, I remember, wrote me 2-3 years ago in a huff saying that the cop actually took his bag out of his hand when he walked out of the dispensary.
Oh, wow.
And was like, you don't need this, and wrote him a ticket. So dude walked back into the dispensary. He called the sheriff and was like, hey, you need to come get your boy, you know? Like, this is...
Yo, he's breaking the law.
But I don't even know what happened with that case, but I know that rarely do police officers... I mean, I guess they get reprimanded for that, but they don't lose their job.
Yeah, why would they lose their jobs for violating your constitutional rights?
Oh, right? They're just constitutional rights.
Kayla Bluebow. I bet you I said that right. Said, hi, everyone. Hashtag Maryland.
Hi, Kayla.
Jim Freedom and Mac are on watching. Glenn Guerrera says, hi.
Hi. Josh Fisher says, let's mobilize and legalize. Amen, Josh. And I think through this whole crisis, the silver lining, at least for the cannabis community, is all of these states, over 2/3 of the nation, has declared the cannabis industry as an essential industry, which should help us moving forward in terms of federal
legalization. I mean, if it's essential during a crisis, why would it not be essential when there isn't a global pandemic crisis going on?
Yeah, it's definitely a good point to make, but I'm going to remind you guys, like I always do, legalization isn't enough. A full repeal of prohibition is all that I personally will accept. It's all that you guys should accept. It should just be taken off the controlled substance list completely, and I'm not lying when I say I want to see cannabis sold at the Whole Foods, right there in the produce section.
In bulk, right next to all the trail mix.
Yeah, I want to be able to get, you know, whole stalk and leaves, and I want to be able to utilize the entirety of this plant to its fullest because, you know, God, the universe, I don't care who your deity is, Mother Nature, they put it here for a reason, right?
Yeah, and why we're trying to play God with it is beyond me.
Ugh, it's a mess. Josh Fisher said, Joey, check it out. Bob Kestel and I have plans and ideas. Duke knows what's up. Duke always knows what's up. Duke, I don't think you're watching, but as always, my marijuana mentor. You know I love you, brother. Josh, hit me up. I think you still have my number, brother. It hasn't changed. Let me know, dude. I mean, because something needs to happen on a national level. I think everybody knows why I kind of dropped everything in cannabis activism and joined this tour with Adam Kokesh. I personally believe he's got the most direct path and the most sensible, logical path to legalization.
He also has quite the support from the libertarian folks in the world. Like, he's winning all the polls and stuff that I've seen.
Yeah, we've got some serious candidates. And put it this way, like, if the Libertarian Party took 3.5% of the vote last term with a weak-ass candidate in Gary Johnson. Sorry, Gary, if you're watching. I know damn well
I voted for you,
not.
But you're weak.
I voted for you. But, yeah, I think you were weak. And had the LP had a stronger candidate last...
Especially with the two options that they had. Like, people were looking for someone else besides Hillary and Trump.
Yeah.
And they didn't have to look very far, but...
It doesn't have to be the lesser of two evils. And, I mean, I don't think it's any surprise to anybody watching right now who's been through this. The Democrats and Republicans... Neither one of us, they're not on our side when it comes to legalization.
No.
They simply are not. They can say they are all they want. But even these bills that are getting introduced for legalization see to put like a 5% federal sales tax on cannabis that some people can't even afford as it is. And that's not okay. We're better than this.
Any one of your politicians could write a bill taking it off Schedule 1 to begin with. Just start there. And they haven't, have they? Why don't you call them and ask them why?
Yeah, call them, write them. We have the power in our fingertips, at our fingertips, in our fingertips. I don't know, a little bit of both. Oh, Ashley's watching. Glad to see you're still strong, still going strong. Keep doing your thing, lady. Love you to the moon and back, baby girl. I love you too. Ashley, I miss you a whole bunch. And I hear it's extra cruddy over there on the East Coast. Big, strong man. That's a good way to make a chair, bro. Look at that. Stoner ingenuity. Stoner ingenuity. Is it 420 yet?
Josh Fisher says, I have your number.
Yeah, Josh, call me. Let me know. You know, I'm always up for a rally or lobbying event. It's time to get back to D.C. A, because I guess it's technically my home or a suburb thereof. And B, it's where all the bullshit's going down. It's where everything has to change, is right there in D.C. What's going on, man?
Chilling, hanging out, bored.
You done breaking rocks for the day?
This is Jim Freedom.
Jim Freedom.
Or James Freedom.
Jim.
James, if you're feeling nasty.
James, if you're a piece of shit that requires the law.
Jim heads up the operations here with Big Igloo geodesic domes in terms of sales. So.
Pretend Jim.
Pretend Jim.
Yeah, we're here at the Garden of Freedom, and yeah, he heads up the geodesic, Big Igloo geodesics
construction.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys, I can't even turn the camera around to see. It was in the background 2 days ago, though, the geodesic domes. You guys, you can put these up. Like,
They've probably seen them.
Yeah, like a husband and wife couple can knock this out
right
in an hour.
Hours.
You get the frame up. If you're in a nice climate, you could, stretch it with some plastic and be just fine if it's nice and warm out. But if you're not,
nice. They're pretty nice, yeah.
A little bit of netting, a little bit of concrete.
Maybe in the next few days we'll live broadcast from one of them.
Oh, we should live broadcast from inside the finished dome. It's a really cool looking in there. It's pretty Mad Max looking. But you can make these things look like
whatever.
Any home, like your average home. If you want the drywall up and you want this, that, and the other thing, it's definitely doable.
Even doing all the drywall and making it look super legit is like so retardedly less expensive than like traditional.
It's a way that you could possibly have a home for a quarter of the price, maybe less.
And that's more money you can spend on weed. Just saying, you can also make greenhouses out of these things.
That's my favorite project. Me and Adam want to put, we keep saying we want to put a greenhouse in every backyard to promote food independence, Just one of them 15 footers or 21 footers would be enough for a really decent greenhouse. You can grow all your vegetables for like a family of 4.
Yeah, man, orange trees, we're talking about potatoes. What else is good to grow? I'm gonna need my carrots. Tomatoes, yeah, dude. How cool would it be if you just walked out your back door of your awesome bubble house into a mini bubble and picked your tomatoes to make your breakfast burritos?
You could make them hobbit homes if you wanted to.
Yeah.
You could line them with dirt on the top and then grow grass on top of it. I'd prefer you grow food.
Or grow weed on top of it.
Mm.
Oh my God! Can I have a hemp house? I could have like I could have a hemp dome, like where the hemp's growing out. Take that, government.
Would be pretty cool.
Hemp's federally legal now, so I can do that, and nobody can mess with me. I'd be giving back to nature.
Having some signal issues here.
Yeah, me
Can you
too.
hear me now?
I've heard about hemp being legal for construction and stuff, but I wonder like how expensive it is to actually get a hold of it.
To grow it? You can get some clones
Well, no,
pretty
not
easily.
to grow it, but like if I wanted to make my house out of hempcrete or hemp,
Right.
hemp product, how hard is it to actually source it from somewhere?
That's a good question.
That's a good question. You guys, our internet's down. Why this is playing and these aren't, I don't know, but I definitely need your help sharing right now.
So hit share.
Definitely hit share. We'll keep trying to reload to answer any questions. It's good to see everybody all active. Dude, last night, actually, the punk rock libertarians did a virtual anarchy bar where everybody called in with Zoom and, was drinking or smoking from home. And I didn't make it because we had an impromptu illegal 11-person gathering.
We had one more than we're legally allowed to have.
But so I didn't want to call in and clutter it all up. But I think they're gonna keep doing that every week, and you guys can do that too, man. Don't be separate from your friends. Reach out, like.
Josh Fisher says, "Yo, just heard from Duke via Facebook Messenger. He says, what's up?"
Hi, Duke.
And Mac asked if Jim would take off his shirt.
Jim's like the resident hottie here.
OD Dub says, "Hey y'all, what's up, OD Dub? Don't OD
Jeff
on that
did ask
dub."
that. I thought you were being fucking funny.
No, I mean I'm being funny, but not as funny as Mac.
That's funny.
Hey, if you're in watching us, go ahead and say hello in the comments.
Yeah.
Let us know what you're burning on. We have just packed a bong full of Jack Flash.
Jumpin' Jack.
Jumpin'
Flash.
Jack. It's pretty. I don't know if it's focusing on it, but there you go.
Ooh.
We got the bong packed, waiting for 4:20. We got 6 minutes.
We're getting close. 4:20 Pacific. So we missed 4:20 on all the other seaboards, but at least you guys are ahead of
But
me.
we didn't miss our 4:20.
Oh, no.
Most importantly.
And I think it's 4:20 all day. So that being said, go fuck yourself, time. Go fuck yourself.
It's always 4:20 somewhere.
We have the technology. We do.
Yeah, I could just change the time on my phone. I do know a guy that got the cliche, like, a watch tattooed on him that's always on 4:20. I've met a dude.
That's classic. I know a
Get
guy.
regular watch
Reese
battery
Rivera
on
says,
420.
"Hey Dad, hi sweetheart. That's my beautiful 16-year-old
Hi,
handful.
Reese.
Love you, kiddo."
Are you allowed to have a Facebook? What's the Facebook age? Like, there's like a.
I don't know.
like you.
14 or
I think
15.
you're allowed to have one at 12 or something like that.
Well, all the 12.
But I approve of my daughter having a Facebook. I don't care.
Well, like when my kid was 12,
They just lie.
she just changed her birthday.
I trust my daughter will use it responsibly.
See, because regulations work all the time. Said no.
I don't know if I can
ever.
wait. All right, let's back the poll so I don't have to wait for the ball now.
I'm ready to do bong hits.
All right,
There's
yay.
no reason not to.
Fuck 420. Let's start early.
It's 4:13,
But it's the whole month of 420, so I ain't gotta wait.
so it's always 4:20, and I'm kind of bummed. We only have like 5 days left, and everybody was stuck inside. Like the National Cannabis
I know.
Festival didn't happen.
Yeah.
All the 420 smokeouts didn't happen. I don't even know. Usually on 420, there's the smokeout in DC, and a bunch of people meet at high noon, including Duke.
Glenn
who's-
Guerrera, whatever. Said Kush, that's what he's burning on.
What kind of kush?
That's some old school strain.
Zekush. I love
It's
all.
an indica.
Caitlin, look, that's my daughter right there.
Oh,
Aw.
both of our daughters are watching us.
My son's 10, so
She says, "Damn, I want to smoke." My daughter just
Yeah.
said, "Sorry, I was late. I had to go out and smoke before this. I miss you, and I'm glad we got to talk yesterday." Me too, sweetheart.
it's always nice talking to the little heads, man.
Yeah.
It's Speaking of family and weed, my mother actually texted me on 420 at 4:18. She made sure to get a little jump on it and told me happy 420. And that's the first time it's ever happened to me, for Mom anyway. So it's kind of cool to see everybody just settling down about weed. It's not as taboo as it used to be. It shouldn't have ever been either, but news for you guys. It was. And what did the government use to do it? Violence and fear. They scared people into thinking that, like, their brothers and sisters were going to die from this. So, I mean, you can't even fault the people who didn't know any better. But you can fault the people who did know better when it was going on for not standing up and speaking out. And that's going on a lot now. For anything. What you do with your body in a free nation should be your decision.
Yeah, you don't need the government to tell you how to be healthy and how not to be healthy. That's your responsibility, nobody else's.
It's sad that we have to explain this.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like at some point we all inherently know this. Like, deep down into our core, we know we don't need to be babied by a government. Yet we still put up with it. And I don't understand why. And I say this after having worked for the government the majority of my adult life.
How dare you?
Well, you know.
I'll forgive you.
Oh, good. I'm so worried.
You got to see it firsthand to understand, though. I mean, because, you know, when you're kids, and I don't even know if I necessarily want to call it indoctrination, but when you're kids, you're taught about how the government's supposed to do these great things for you. And you put them up on this pedestal in your head, and you expect them to do the right thing, which sometimes warps into you expecting people to protect you. And unfortunately, folks, nobody's responsible for protecting you but you, right? Unless of the case of, you know, an employer. But even then, like, can you fault your employer if something dangerous that has nothing to do with them happens to you while you're on the job?
No, not to mention you consented to wake the fuck up and go into work that day, taking whatever risks that might actually bring. You know, that's still our responsibility to protect ourselves.
It's a mess. I put the civilian platoon 420 pledge in the description here. I don't know, whatever way you're watching this. Oh yeah, my internet's being a twat.
Internet out here in the middle of fucking nowhere is kind of hit and miss, so we do the best we can.
Yeah.
At least the live is working.
The live's still working. My connection was interrupted. Thankfully not on there. But the platoon 420 pledge basically says that...
There you go.
Oh, do you have it up? You're the best, man. And if you go to platoon420.com, that's Platoon, retards.
Platoon, not Tune.
Not Tune. 420.com. You can take the pledge, and it is... And I wrote this back in January. Pre-COVID, and it couldn't ring more true than it does right now. And I didn't realize when writing it how much it stretches out to all of our freedoms, not so much just cannabis. I will stand tall in the face of tyranny for the best interest of myself and my community. I denounce the archaic drug laws that have made victims of the people they were written to protect, and I will not support any legislation that regulates what a person puts in their body. I should change that to what a person does with their body. But if you agree with that statement, if you agree that you own yourself and that no group of violent, fear-mongering human beings should be able to intimidate you into doing something that you don't want to do with your body, or intimidate you from doing something you want to do with your body, there is absolutely no reason for you to support those people. And if it's not with cannabis, it's with something else. I'm trying to keep the focus
on cannabis.
On cannabis.
But the same logic applies to literally anything you choose to put in your body, whether it's McDonald's, sugar, whatever you want. That's up to you. If you're not hurting anyone, if you're not forcing that on anyone, then you're not doing anything wrong. And I have a bee that I'm
like
super
a dragon,
afraid.
Dude.
I know.
Oh,
I'm
man.
super afraid of
Holy
bees.
crap.
I'm not allergic to
That
bees.
guy's
I'm
been
just
around
scared.
for a couple days
That's
now.
the
He
one that
likes
scared
you,
me
yeah.
inside yesterday.
He
Oh
likes
my
you,
god.
yeah.
I got bit by a fire ant.
Yeah.
It's never
Hey, my
happened.
sister's watching now. Hi, Destiny.
But yeah, my right foot's kind of numb right now. which isn't good.
It's going numb. Plus, I'm blind.
Plus, I put CBD cream on it, so, you know, it's going to be okay.
It's like that guy on, have you ever seen the movie Johnny Dangerously?
I feel like I have. That's an older one, right?
Oh, yeah. The guy standing on a corner, and he's a blind guy, and the guy comes around delivering papers, and he hits him in the head, and he's like, I can see! Like that. He's like, and somebody comes up and says something, he's like, what? He's like, what? Shit, now I'm deaf. Like, later in the movie, the same guy throws the thing, and he goes, I'm blind again, shit, but I can hear.
Everybody.
That's hilarious. It's,
I
yeah.
shared it 15 people.
I believe it's my hit. Hey, there's Mac.
In the house.
We've officially got a smoke sesh going on.
Mac and I are the bronze behind the brains
I just stopped by for a second.
of Big Igloo Geodesics. We help sometimes.
They were literally breaking rocks with sledgehammers today. It was so manly. And I laid in a hammock.
Yeah, I saw that. His daughter came in. And
It was boulders.
Thanks, guys.
They were boulders.
Yeah, they were boulders.
And I got a video going up on YouTube about that today.
Oh, about the dragging the boulder.
Us dragging
Oh,
the
you
boulders.
did? You got some footage of it?
Yeah, I edited a little bit. I haven't uploaded it yet, though.
It feels good to do all that work, though. I mean...
You didn't do any work.
She threw a few rocks.
She did have her hands on a couple of rocks.
I came in at the end.
She was too busy taking her vitamin D injection to get rid of corona.
Destiny Banks. Jim Freedom. I hear that she's a relative. Is your last name Banks?
No.
Oh, Banks is like
That's
from
her and her husband.
and her husband. That's like Will Smith
Oh.
from Fresh Prince, right? They were the
That's right,
Bankses.
they were
The
Banks.
Banks.
Thanks, family.
Yeah.
I definitely. We missed 420.
Mac is in the house. What's up, Bob? Bob is from Slab City. I know we've never met, but you know.
And then somebody asked you if you guys are in Slab City. Can you believe that?
No, we're not in Slab City. It's like 110 there today.
I lived there for almost
105.
a year, but I'm not there right now.
That's insane. I don't know. Like, I love the heat, but 110, dude, that's a bit much.
And it's springtime. It gets much hotter than that. Like
110 is okay, but after 110 is when it starts
yeah,
to
it
get
gets
real
up
miserable.
to 125. It'll hit 130 for, you know, briefly a week or so.
That's crazy.
And then at nighttime, it's still like 90 degrees. Everyone sleeps outside.
Except for me.
It's a pretty hostile, extreme environment.
125 last year when I was there.
Wow.
Crazy, huh?
Yeah, he stayed the summer and didn't sleep outside because he's insane.
I ran the AC.
I
No, I didn't run the AC.
Bro, it's too hot. I still
Why don't
can't
you grab
get
a
the
chair?
comments up, so
I'm gonna
somebody's
go
gonna have
back inside. I
to
just came by to say hello.
Oh, okay.
take
All right,
that
bye
photo.
everybody.
Man, we're getting low on supplies here.
We're getting low. But you know, I found out my stimulus. Since I'm a disabled veteran, I haven't gotten this whole stimulus payment yet.
Just buy
And
it.
I've gotten like no information from the IRS about when it's supposed to show up. Until today, I woke up and I checked the website, and finally they've given me a date that I'm going to be getting my deposit, which is really, really fancy. I'm pretty stoked about that. So if you guys are in the same boat, any disabled folks out there or low income, I would expect to see it soon. Just throwing that out there.
29th. It seems like everybody I know personally that hasn't got theirs yet got the notification.
Got the
that they're getting it
notification.
on the 29th.
So check the Get My Payment tool on the IRS website if you have any questions.
Yeah.
And stimulate yourself with your stimulus.
Stimulate yourself.
Stimulate.
Russ Hamming. He says hello. Hey, Russ.
Oh, now my mom is watching.
Are you gonna
That's
smoke
awesome.
with
Hi,
us?
Mama.
Hi, Mom.
Oh, I've met your mom.
You have.
I
yeah.
met your mom.
There you go, guys.
Hi.
Remember Zig, Mama?
She was a sweet lady with like a dozen kids who lived in a shoe or something.
Yeah. 9 kids and
9 kids. My goodness.
20-something grandkids.
I'm an only child. That's a thing.
I have a sister.
I mean, I have lots of sisters and brothers, just none of them are related to me.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
What up,
cheese
bro?
alert.
Homie dog G Slice. Yeah, Bob says slabs 3 years in a row, never spent the summer. Yeah, I've been going there for 6 years now. And I did spend the first summer I was there. And yeah, I don't think I'll do it again. Like, I don't fucking have to. I've got wheels, so I did it the first time and that was enough.
I'd like to visit.
Deidre Blevins, there's supposed to be another round of it from what I hear.
Oh, the stimulus checks.
Oh, yeah. There's actually supposed to be quite a few rounds of it.
All the way through till September.
All the way till September, and then they're releasing the money based on your income. So the less you make, the sooner that you'll get it.
Supposedly.
That's what they say. It's the government, though. They don't ever do anything very efficiently. I wouldn't hold my breath, but yeah, there's a few rounds. They've actually got a payment schedule now, which they aren't even following because it said on that payment schedule we were supposed to get it Friday. So yeah, I'm not holding my breath.
It's the government. Hey, and I've got an idea for everybody who gets their stimulus. What a great time to visit platoon420.com and get your very own smoke weed and the Fed shirt. I'd show it to you if my internet was working, but it's really cool. It's a picture of Uncle Sam on the front.
Uncle Sam
smoking a doobie. Yours truly designed it, so I guess that kind of makes it my art. Is that fair, even though it was on a computer?
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah,
and there's pot leaf pattern platoon 420 yoga pants, and I'm working on the matching sports bras to come out to help everybody stay lit and fit, which I've not been able to do out here. It's
You were lifting them rocks. You said these are kind of like weights.
Kind of like weights. I could like Rocky style work out with whatever I
was
find
it the
in
third
nature.
Rocky movie where he went out in the woods and did it all
grab
natural?
one of them logs and lift it. I guarantee you can find a log there heavier than anything you can lift in the gym.
I think that'd be fun.
Just move it around. Natural workout.
Are you guys working out? I mean, anybody?
A workout.
How are you dealing with the closed gyms, man? That's blowing my mind. First of all, as a regular gym goer, I promise you, it's generally a gathering of less than 10 people.
Yeah.
Because motherfuckers don't get out and they don't go to the gym, right? So why is it closed? And then B, how is a gym not considered essential in the realm of health?
Right. It's a thing that you do to maintain your health, your immune system. And they shut it down during a global pandemic. It doesn't even make sense. Thomas Audette is watching. His name is not Thomas. His name is Smiling Jack, and he's also from Slab City. Him and I camped together this last season at the California Ponderosa, hosted by Spider and his wife Shannon. Good fucking folks. They run an Airbnb. If you're ever curious about checking out Slabs and want, a shower and a bathroom and power and a community and security, that's a really good spot to check out. California Ponderosa and Slabs. Smiling Jack is a part of that community. Jack, are you still in Slabs? Like, you left, right? You didn't stay there for this crazy heat. Let us know.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Didn't a couple people get sick in Slabs? Did they pull through? The COVID sufferers?
From what I understand, they had some confirmed cases, at least one that I heard of, in Slabs, which was, I haven't heard too much. They're a pretty secluded community, too. And then currently not encouraging people to show up. So I'm not sure how long they'll have to suffer through all this, but
hey, I'm back up.
But there are a lot of folks there who are elderly, who have immune deficiency issues and respiratory issues, and they're just old in general, so they have health concerns. So those people are trying to stay, they're trying to protect their own health. Not because the government told them they should, but because they give a shit about their community.
Ron Hemming says it's all essential, and you're right. Like, nobody gets to decide what is and is not essential for you, except for you.
Right.
Like, for me and my condition, having cannabis is essential in order to avoid serious health concerns. That's probably not the case it's not the case for you. It's not the case for some people watching. Your big thing is, what do you take every day? Your aspirin. What if they decided to tell you that that's not
right? I have to take a daily regimen of aspirin because I've got a bad ticker. I smoke cannabis because it helps me sleep. Otherwise, I have nightmares. And you know what's essential for me?
That is essential.
Yeah. You know what is essential for me too is national parks. Like, I've spent the last 6 years traveling from national park to national park, enjoying the beauty, and it's so mentally healthy for me to do and go hiking. And I can't do those things right now because they're all closed down. It's quite unfortunate.
How do you close down nature? Like,
no, you can't go outside.
How big is your fucking ego to be like, no, you can't put your feet on this land? Like, what planet, or why are we even dealing with this anymore?
Fear.
Oh yeah.
Fear.
100%.
You know what I'm more in fear of is somebody coming and putting me in handcuffs for walking over an imaginary line in the sand. And God forbid I've got cannabis on me, because then even if I'm in a legal state, as soon as you cross into national land, technically you're committing a federal, it's a felony.
It's a federal crime.
It's insane. It's insane.
Yep. Just because you went from, like, when we were in Nevada, we were at Lake Mead, and technically as soon as we drove onto Lake Mead, since it's a national monument, we went from being legal to being illegal, simply because, and we're still in Nevada, weren't we? It's disgusting.
It really doesn't make any sense, and that's why we're going to get back up and running with the regular weekly episodes of the War Room, which are going to air, I'm not sure the time yet, either 4 or 7 Eastern every Sunday. And we're going to report the news to you from the perspective of the victims, as usual. I'm tired of the media painting us out to be criminals. I'm tired of them putting some poor young single mother's face or hardworking elderly gentleman. I don't care, because it's everybody. It's every American. Every non-American has been victimized by these laws, if not directly, indirectly. Your neighbor, your coworker, somebody that's got arrested, and in some way, shape, or form that affects you, right? It's got to stop. It really does. If right now the climate is opening your hair salon can get you put in handcuffs, we're crossing a line that is going to be very, very, very dangerous for us in the future.
It's going to be hard to come back from when that becomes the norm. When arresting people for cutting hair is the norm. Like, this cannot be acceptable, even during a pandemic. And Russ Hemming just had a really good point. Both me and my mom, 74, had it in January. It sucked, but it was like a bad flu for the both of us. If you're at high risk, you should take any precautions that you would during regular flu season. And that's true. During regular flu season, we don't need the government to mandate how to keep ourselves healthy and safe. We do that all on our own, because you know what? I want to die a lot less than the government wants me to die.
Thank you.
I don't need them to tell me to protect myself. If there's a global pandemic going around, I'm going to protect myself simply because it's fucking obvious. But that doesn't mean that you ruin people's lives because they don't do it the same way you do.
It's unacceptable. And meanwhile, look, man, sugar, McDonald's kills more people than the flu or any seasonal virus I think we have every single year. But you know what? That's okay, because those people, if you die, you lived for it. Whatever we do, it's where death is a part of life, and somebody
they consented
into the language for companies like that those are acceptable numbers. You know what I mean? Those are it's only under 1% of people that eat our food end up with a disease and die from it. That's acceptable to the FDA. You know?
And that is acceptable because
it's only a little poison.
It's voluntary, okay. But it's voluntary, and people know what they're getting into. Right. If McDonald's was going around claiming that they would cure your heart disease with a Big Mac, that's a problem. That's right. Not consensual. That's deception.
It doesn't?
You didn't know?
Oh.
You didn't?
Damn, that explains a lot.
I'm pretty sure the BFCs from Carl's Jr., though, they do cure a broken heart.
They cure munchies.
They cure the munchies like a son of a bitch, right? But, I mean, I'm one of these people, everything in moderation. And, again, what's good for me isn't good for you. It's got to stop, guys. And I'm so devastated in the comments that I'm seeing, especially from the cannabis activist community. There's a good percentage of these freedom activists that are in favor of, look, stay-at-home recommendations all day long. It's a big deal. It's a bigger deal since it's a new virus than the viruses we're used to. You should take precautions. Should. If you don't want to, you don't want to. And why would you put yourself in harm's way anyway?
Yeah, stay-at-home recommendations are okay. Stay-at-home orders?
No. Then they're telling you, we're making these rules because we want to keep you safe.
You're treading on me.
And in order to keep you safe, We're going to point guns in your face, make you terrified. And if you don't listen to all of these other threats, we're going to put you in handcuffs and we're going to throw you in a concrete cell on a bed that's not going to be beneficial for your health. We're going to feed you foods full of trans fats that are not going to be good for your health.
Not to mention, they put you in a really dense population where COVID runs rampant. So in order to protect you, they're going to expose you to the virus that they're trying to protect you from. Like, we're not cattle. We don't need to be shoveled onto the cattle cars to keep us safe. Like, we could do it without the government's help.
You can't stay safe from things in nature. I mean, that's just like,
just the act of the officers going to protect somebody with this COVID thing going around is literally putting the person in danger.
That
like
cop,
like the surfer or whatever.
Right, that cop is exposed to it more than anyone else.
Right. It's most likely that the cops are probably been exposed to it and carried it and could pass it on.
And then in order to protect you, they expose you to it themselves.
And then to the people who are saying, yeah, but if you go outside, you're putting other people at risk. That's the same thing as saying, well, yeah, but people die from weed because of the drug transactions, the black market transactions. No, right. That happens because there's no regulation. Because in a black market, in an illegal market, people get to do whatever they want. They get to make up the rules. They get to be the mafia, okay? And not to mention, if their property is stolen, there's no repercussion. There's no help for them if they're victimized. So the danger does not come from the substance or from the virus. It comes from the activities around it that are restricted.
Not to mention, if you're saying that somebody going out in public means that you're putting other people in danger, who are you putting in danger? Other people who consented to be out in public as well? Every time you leave your house, you consent to being exposed to everything that's out there. You consented by walking out the door and going into the grocery store and taking that dirty money and shaking that guy's hand every single time. Nothing's changed. It's just there's a new thing that's out there
that you were told to be afraid of.
Don't be afraid. Keep compassion, and look out for your. Look, that lizard came back from yesterday. You see him?
Yeah, I see him.
We have a lizard friend out here. Didn't you guys see a scorpion while you were boulder breaking?
Yeah.
There's so many critters here in this, like, undisturbed piece of nature. That shit, for all we know, I'm going to stop talking about this damn virus, but I can't.
The virus.
Because it's so parallel. It's such a good comparison to... how they got people scared of weed in the first place. Right? So in 1937, a bunch of rich white dudes were like, fuck the Mexicans. How do we... Oh, they smoke a bunch of that weed and a bunch of it's being grown down there. They're bringing it up here. Let's call them criminals, rapists. Let's rename this cannabis plant marijuana so it sounds all Mexican and stuff, right? And then they told everything. They made Reefer Madness, and there were posters, and there were articles, and there's drug campaigns, and movies, and lies. And even if they weren't lies, right? Even if they were just assumptions, like maybe let's say they didn't know. Okay, let's say they didn't know, right? Well, you don't present information until you're sure of it. You clearly say it's a theory, and by not, Trump did it with his stupid bleach comments. Everybody's got something to say. Everybody's got some kind of answer. Look, I'm no scientist, but I guarantee you, nobody's got a definitive answer yet. These things are going to take time,
it's
like any other medical science. It's a brand new thing. So until you know, media, shut the fuck up, because you're terrifying people. And it's as if they don't know that. They know what they're doing.
They know
the agenda is clear, and I can say that because
they're saying what they're told to say.
Yeah, and you get to turn off the TV. That's something else that's consensual. You don't have to watch that shit. Your world will not crumble if you don't know what's going on CNN and Fox. I promise you. It won't. Everything will be okay. I bet you your monthly weed expenses will go down because you won't have to smoke as much, because you won't be so stressed out. Turn off the TV. You have a comment?
I was just saying, a couple of people joined. Megan Marie Escobar, it's a very old friend of mine. I love you too. And Renee. Fucking Renee. Renee's also a slabber.
Oh, yeah?
Fuck fucking Renee is her slab name.
Oh, fucking Renee?
Fucking Renee.
I dig it.
Because every time she does some shit, you're like, oh, fucking Renee.
Renee, I'm an airhead too, so I feel you. I feel you. It's okay.
Becca Jean in the house.
Oh.
Gary Smallwood. Oh my God, Gary Smallwood and I have old stories going back to the high school days when one time, speaking of fire ants, one time we were out trying to jack this dude's pot plant he was growing. We were like 17 or maybe 18 or something. It was a friend's parent. Anyways, we were dumb kids. But we didn't get the plant. One of our buddies got eaten alive by fire ants.
See,
Gary and I got chased by dogs and ended up running through this field of stickers and ended up having all these stickers in our socks and drove away without any weed and just wounded and tail tucked between our legs.
You know what that is? That's instant karma delivered by nature at its finest.
Yeah.
Like that sounds like and you
Instant
learned,
karma,
didn't you?
Yeah, well, I mean, no, I'm sure I would have done it a week later, but we didn't bring enough preparations. Yeah, that dog that chased us, man, that sucked.
I've never been chased by a dog. He's got bit by a fire ant.
I've been chased. You know what? I was on rollerblades rolling through the neighborhood going to see my girlfriend, like 15, 14 or something. Dog starts chasing me. Boy, I was huffing, man. He chased me for like a quarter mile, but then he finally tapered off. And I was so tired, I just stopped.
I'm usually the one chasing dogs
I was
to give them
scared
pets
and tired. You know what I mean? I was scared. I was.
Fuck
yeah.
yeah.
I didn't want to be bit. It was a big ass dog. I was tripping.
I think I don't have internet again. I wanted to go over a couple of articles that I shared today because, yeah, like I said, they're still arresting people, man. They arrested a nurse. Salute to you, ma'am, who was abducted at the imaginary line that exists between Canada and America. She was driving over that imaginary line. She had, I mean, some would say a large quantity of weed in her car, but
she had weed in her car.
She had weed in her car, and she was trying to get it to patients, right? She's in jail.
Somebody made the comment, like, why would she do that? It's legal on both sides of the border.
Exactly.
So why is she being arrested for it if it's legal on both sides of the border? Food for thought. And everything happens in government, everything happens really, 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 really slow. But that is something that needs to just be changed right now. Like, if it's legal in Canada and it's legal in the state you're taking to, there's no reason you can't have inter-country commerce.
No, and there's no reason they can tell you how much you're allowed to buy. You're paying retail or wholesale or whatever you're paying. I mean, who cares if you're selling it? Who cares if you're using it? Who cares if you're gifting it? That's up to you. You get to decide what you do with...
Yes, Andy, rested in the United States.
But you know what, though? They do this with other things. Tobacco, for instance. Like, I grew up in Maryland, which is right on the Virginia, Pennsylvania, like the whole, like, 4-state area is the size of one state, you know, out here in the western part of the country. So cigarettes in Virginia, no joke, like $3.50 a pack. Cigarettes in Maryland, like $6.50 to $7.50 a pack, right? So it's commonplace for people to drive to Virginia. And there's a 3-carton limit, and it's not a limit that the gas station sets, right? If the gas station wanted to say, hey, here's a limit on what I want to sell because it's my choice, they can do that, whether it has to do with their inventory or whatever. But no. This 3-carton limit is because the states have mandated it, and they're technically, and I'm sure this rarely happens. But technically, if you get caught with more than 3 Virginia cartons of cigarettes in your car driving into Maryland...
Are these Virginia cartons?
They can... Yeah, man.
Let me see your receipt.
They're stamped on the bottom. Each pack is stamped with the state.
When I was in Slab City this last year, I was driving down to Mexico and getting cartons of cigarettes and driving them back. And they have a 1 per person per month limit.
It says Arizona. Every carton is stamped with what state it came
But I was violating the 1 per month limit.
How is this a free market when there's regulators deciding how much of something you can buy? And it's happening with cannabis. Again, if the dispensaries, because it's a new industry and they need to keep up supply and demand chain, right? If the dispensaries wanted to set a limit on you, you can only buy 1 ounce per day or whatever the case may be. That's all fine and good. But the governments are doing it. The state governments are doing it. Now, kudos to the governors who have passed these laws, but everybody got complacent then. I think. Like, everybody's like, oh, it's legal, whatever. No.
I feel like they were just like, okay, we'll give them a little bit, but limit how much they can get to see how they do or whatever. But I can walk into a liquor store and fill up a dump truck full of liquor. I could buy out the whole store if I want to. They're not going to stop me because there is no limit. Even in Oregon, where they actually have liquor stores that are state regulated, places like North Carolina do this. They have ABC stores. It's a state mandated, regulated thing. There's still no limit on how much alcohol you can buy. You know what? I can buy enough alcohol to kill myself with. Yeah. But you can't overdose on weed, yet they limit how much you can get. Why? Is it a safety thing? No.
That's what they claim. That's what they claim.
And these limits are being made by state representatives who are politicians, career politicians. They're not doctors. So especially in a medical market, who are you? Like, your limit may not be enough for the cancer patient, may not be enough for the epileptic little girl. There's different limits. Sneak it away. Everybody needs different things in terms of cannabis
of treatment, right? Like, so it's not going to be the politicians that decide this is how much you need. Like, that's a personal choice with cannabis, especially since you can't overdose on it. That's not even something a doctor can say, oh, do you need to take more? It's an as needed treatment.
It's like Advil. Like, yeah, it's as needed. And you know what? You can kill yourself taking so much Advil, right? It's a thing. It's a real thing. But it's something, you know. So you're consenting to that activity, knowing the risks.
Well, and Russ made up a good point. I agree. But roll your own, grow your own, brew your own, distill your own. And even distilling your own is illegal in most of the country, but not brewing your own beer. Most of the country, you can brew your own beer. Not all the country. That's still state regulated in some places. But you can't make your own liquor. When I was in Iraq, we did, though.
Yeah, you guys don't stop. Don't get complacent just because you can walk into a store and buy weed in your state. Really look into it. Like, look at your receipt.
Start asking why we're limited.
Yeah, see how much taxes that you're paying. Write your congressman, you know, do it once a month. Shit, you don't have to put too much effort into it, right? And say, hey, dear Mr. or Mrs. whatever suit, I noticed that I'm paying X% tax on my cannabis, but that we're also still arresting citizens, which is, you know, costing me tax money. So are my taxes for my cannabis, are those going towards locking up people that have it too? I mean, ask these questions. It's valid. And think about that too, is every time they arrest a peaceful, nonviolent drug user
who's created no victims,
who's created 0 victims, there's a victim, and it's the taxpayer, because you're paying for it. And we're already in debt. We don't have any money. We don't have any money. And they're still using our money to go after these people. And then they're fining them. They're stealing their money back. But look, I may be smoking weed right now, but none of this makes sense. If one of you can, like, you know, make it make sense to me, send me an email. But if not, if it doesn't make sense to you, get real.
26 trillion or some shit. 20-something trillion.
After this COVID-6.
Yeah, it's just skyrocketing right now because they're just printing out money.
$26 trillion. Let's see, that's
trillion.
That's unacceptable.
Billion, trillion.
And you're
divided by 330 million Americans.
The guy getting arrested for weed is paying to get arrested for weed and then getting charged.
So he's doing the math right now to figure out our debt versus
every single man, woman, and child in America owes $78,787.
So before you even open your eye, before you're even disconnected from your mother by the umbilical cord, you're $70,000.
You're halfway out. You're halfway out and in debt.
You didn't do anything to deserve that debt. How is that debt going on to non-voluntary participants? Babies. If you're born into it, you just got to accept that. No, that's a class system, and that's what we're not supposed to be in this country, right? It's all unfolding before our eyes. You watching, you need to be vocal and respectfully vocal about it. And best thing to do with people who, don't understand is don't argue with them. Ask them what they're scared of. Figure out what they're scared of, and then ask them why. Because maybe you can explain to them how they don't have anything to fear instead of arguing with them and telling them they're wrong. Nobody's wrong. If somebody's scared, they're legitimately scared. You're not going to lie about being scared. Just like, you know what I mean? You're not going to, they're legitimately scared. So you can't tell them they're wrong for having their emotions. They've been fooled. But you can listen to them with a compassionate ear and follow up with a compassionate tongue and remind them that they don't have to be afraid of X. They don't have to be in fear of whatever it is they're in fear of. And then tell them why. And let them know that you're there, your community's there, this organization's there. Let them know their resources. But be very empathetic. Like,
I gotta give a shout out. My cousin just joined the room. Hi, Lindsay.
It's like a family reunion for everybody.
Yeah, my daughter, his mom, my cousin. Zachariah Owen is in the house, who I have known him since he was like, I don't know, what were you, like 6 or 7?
There's that dragon again.
Yeah, there's
I don't even think it's a bee. I think it's like a crazy moth or something.
Ooh,
I think that's a bee.
In front of the camera and just chill. Sick.
Like, I will not violate the map.
That's a dragon.
He's crazy. Oh.
Yeah, that's a gnarly bug out here in the desert. We got dragons flying around.
That was a good one.
Insane. He was like the size of my
It looked like
thumb.
he flew there for a second. Somebody might be able to pause it and catch a glimpse of it.
It was a good
Man,
shot.
that was a gnarly bee. That's probably one of the bigger bees I've
He was
seen.
weird looking too. He had like, I don't know.
The bees in Iraq were pretty fucking big too.
He had all kinds of different colors and shit. You know, not like no traditional bee.
He was pretty. I don't mind bugs. I'm quite fascinated with them as long as they stay over there. That's.
As long as they don't land on
I
me and sting me.
got a bubble with bugs, and that dragon thing totally just.
I'm
crashed
actually
it.
quite afraid of bees. I used to tell people I was allergic to them so I didn't look like such a coward when I was running away. Like, I'm allergic. It's okay that I'm scared.
I'm terrified of cicadas. You grew up in Oregon. Where did you grow up?
Well, until I was like 10 years old in Southern California, but most of my life was in Arizona. And
I don't think you guys have that. So there's cicadas, are these locusts,
Right.
particular
Yeah.
breed of locusts, and they lay their eggs in the ground, and every 14 years they hatch in mass at the same time. I mean, millions and millions and millions of these bugs, and like they do that because like 5% of the population survives. Like it's how they keep their species going, but. When they come out, they come in like Maryland and Virginia. I think it's mostly like northwestern.
It's the
states.
plague.
It is the plague. Like there are these big black clouds of like locusts coming across the sky. Okay, and the first time they came out, I was 3 years old, and I remember like in preschool, desperately like, nah, I'll stay in here for recess. Teach, I'm good. And you're like, nope, go outside and play. And I'm like, you can go fuck yourself. I do not consent. I do not consent. And these little boys, because you know. You boys love bugs. They be chasing all the little girls around with us. Terrified. I had nightmares about this shit. I don't know if Ashley's still watching or not. She said hi in the beginning. She still fucks with me all the time. She'll send me like videos with cicada noises in the background and stuff. This bitch.
That's
Bitch, I love you though. I love you because I gotta get over that. No, but I am legitimately
In Oregon, we have a similar thing that happens, and it's like every 12-year cycle or some shit. But they're not cicadas; they're Pandora moths, and they're like no shit. They're like this big or bigger, and there's millions of them. And at nighttime, the gas stations have them all hovering around their lights and stuff. And then they all die because their lifespans are really short, and that brings out all the bees that eat the corpses and me. Like you'll get out of the gas station and there's just Pandora moth corpses and bees everywhere.
That's awful. They have the mayflies in Ohio.
That's crazy.
They do, and God, speaking about like, you know, we took cannabis out of nature, which, you know, I don't think anybody's studied what the negative effects have been on the ozone and the ecosystem and the climate and all that, but I can guarantee you there are some. Like, we're taking human beings out of the ecosystem right now with this shutdown, and I'm kind of terrified. Like, the animals are coming out.
That might be exactly what the world needed.
I am so, like, liberate the animals. I was that kid at the zoo, but what's going to happen when all the deer are used to crossing the highway and they're not scared anymore, and then all of a sudden the shutdowns are lifted and people are driving again and these deer are dying in mass or whatever? I am terrified.
Deer kill people all the time.
All the time. Like all these, yeah, I mean, and that's just one example.
Especially
like,
if it's
really
during motorcycle season.
Good Lord, right? Oh, I mean, I spent some time in Northern Virginia, so were DC. very city-like. But during mating season, you're the deer all over the place.
Migratory season in Oregon.
It's terrifying. We fucked up, man. We really did. So we got to be vigilant moving forward. Everybody does. About cannabis. And, I think it's such an effective tool to use. Prohibition and lifting it and everything we fight for in the cannabis community. So effective in painting a bigger picture, and the same argument we make for cannabis can be made for a lot of things that we may be facing moving forward. So
yeah, I think we're gonna have a pretty rocky road over the next 10 years in America.
No, and I maybe, but I think if so,
not that long.
When the ashes settle, it's going to be beautiful.
Look how long it took us to climb out of the recession. Just food for thought.
Yeah, but this is a different time than that.
That's true. It is a different time.
Everything's faster, you know what I mean? Everything. Like,
the recession wasn't that long ago.
No. I think we're coming up on our hour.
Long ago in terms of technology, though. Like our ability to
technology booms
pass
quickly.
Information around the world, pass resources around the world. Everything has increased 1,000-fold probably.
It's I'm excited. It's life. I'm always excited about
That was
it.
the depression. I was talking about the recession in 2008.
Oh, in 2008.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Russ Hemming says mayflies make for good fishing. I bet they do, man. I do enjoy fishing. I want to go do fishing.
We could go do fishing.
The lady at Family Dollar over in town was telling me of some places fishing. I don't remember what any of them are, but you could ask her.
I'll go pick her brain.
Yeah. We definitely need to do that. And legit, I would be scared to get locked up for fishing right now. Like, I don't even know what you can and can't do.
Yeah, we can make some phone calls.
I think around here, I haven't heard, have you guys heard any crazy stories about arrests and shit in Arizona?
Yes, there was a business owner that reopened their business in Flagstaff, and they were arrested for it. That's who was at that protest.
Oh, no shit.
That spoke. Yeah, the business owners. They were a senior citizen couple who, I forget what their business was. But they opened up their non-essential business, and the police went and took them to jail over it.
Well, yeah, I remember that.
Non-violent offenders.
What about individuals like the surfer or the mom at the park, shit like that?
No, not Arizona's been kind of lax on the enforcement, except for that I've seen.
Yeah, the only thing that I'm irritated with in Arizona is they decided a long time ago cannabis wasn't essential for human beings. Don't let them start deciding that activities and businesses are not essential.
And nature.
That's not cool. It's not okay.
It is essential to them. That's how they pay their bills. It's essential to their landlords or their bank that they're paying their mortgage to and to keep their lights on. All these companies run on this person owning a business and all the employees that they have working under them. And now the government's saying that's not essential, which means that paying those bills isn't essential. Yet you're still gonna possibly you still owe that money. You still owe those mortgages and those rent payments.
Bankruptcy court, even though it had nothing to do with you, why you landed there, and it just seems like another way to put everybody in the system, right?
The amount of government control that we're seeing right now in America is unprecedented that I've ever heard of. Like I've never, and the fear is what's doing it. They're using fear, just like they did post 9/11 with the Patriot Act. They said, we need to stop terrorism, look at what happened, and we're gonna start spying on you and violating your privacy.
Yeah, meanwhile they blamed it on an entire race and religion of people that all of a sudden started getting killed in the streets and harassed on the corners.
FYI, they haven't stopped spying.
They haven't. It's not.
Patriot Act still exists.
Stay awake right now and remember that. We're running out of time here, but remember that you're right. It's fear. And you cannot tell somebody that their fear is invalid. What you can do is you can learn what their fears are, why their fears exist in their perception, and you can remind them that you're there for them as a human being, and that their neighbors and their community are there for them as a group, as a collective, and remind them we can get we can get through this, and remind them that you are concerned about their safety. Otherwise, you wouldn't have a passion in your heart to say the things.
Pass the compassion.
That's it. Pass the compassion. Pass joint, not judgment. And buy some swag with your stimulus check.
Swag. Not swag.
Not swag. There is
swag.
CBD products.
Swag.
There's coffee. There's lip balm. There is salve that I just used on my fire ant bite, and I don't know. I think it works. See,
The snake oil works.
Snake oil. It's not snake oil. I love this stuff. It heals my tattoos. I'll shut up. But no, there's CBD.
Everything is snake oil.
There's t-shirts. There's leggings. There's onesies for the little one that are super cute. They say cannabis saved my mom's life or my dad's life or my life.
That's adorable. I love it.
Oh, it is. It's because it's true. And we got to keep saving lives by being vocal, but not angry vocal. Like not what they want to show. Compassionate communication.
So Mac,
the higher you are, the easier it is to do that. Saying.
Mac just said, if you want to see us split a rock today on my channel in about an hour, go to YouTube at Mad Mac, MADMAC 91775. We were breaking rocks today, like Fred Flintstone without a dinosaur. So we had to do it old school, and he's gonna post a video of us. It's not even a rock, dude. That thing's a boulder.
It was this high off the ground, like waist high if I were standing
We went
up.
through how many straps?
Oh yeah, we broke some straps today, like 10,000-pound rated straps.
Yeah.
And isn't it nice to be able to sit down after a day of hard work and have a joint and not be in fear, since we're in a legal area, of any kind of retaliation, you know? But we got to keep speaking out. So make sure to subscribe to G.I. Mary Jane on YouTube. Follow Platoon 420 on all the social media outlets. And then on May the 10th, which is a Sunday, we are going to air the first episode of Season 2 of the War Room. That's war with 2 R's, because we talk about weed arrests and the ridiculous regulations that cause them. It's going to be fun. I like the new format. Join me.
Yeah, we're going to report the news, the cannabis news, from the perspective of the victims.
Picture like Ron Burgundy on weed.
Except I'm going to be funny.
Except for it's going to be funny. But no, we've got a great new format that we've been brainstorming thanks to our stint here in nature. So I guess thanks, Corona, for that, right?
Yeah, appreciate the phobia.
Appreciate it. But I promise you, I'm done talking about this bullshit. As soon as
it goes away, we'll be done talking about it.
As soon as we get back to the format, because yeah, the nonviolent drug arrests are just continuing to rise in this country. And sure, people are dying from COVID, but there's a lot more people dying from that. If not directly, indirectly, your life can be destroyed. It can lead you into harder things, deeper depression, eventually suicide, loss of life in a cage. Isn't that kind of similar to death? Wouldn't you rather be dead than have a life sentence for a plant? So we need to start highlighting these victims of the drug laws. Make sure you go to platoon420.com and take the pledge that you will not support any of the archaic legislation that is creating victims of peaceful Americans.
These are your neighbors,
all over,
your family members. There's almost no one out there that's not been affected by the war on drugs somehow.
It's got to stop.
So keep that in mind. These are not criminals. These are neighbors and loved ones and family members, and it's not compassionate, and it's not okay.
80% of our federal prisons are comprised of nonviolent victimless drug offenders.
There's not a victim out there, yet these people are in prison. Federal prison.
And if you don't like them for doing drugs, do you like paying for their 3 meals a day and for them to be violent with one another? And is that cool? There's so many different angles, and that's what I mean by figure out what people's fears are, and make sure you explain to them why they have nothing to fear after you understand. We about done? Is there any good comments?
Robin just asked a Slab City question, which this isn't really a Slab City conversation, but I will be happy to answer it. She said, do you feel like the Slabs could be accurately viewed as a control group for anarchist communities? Yeah, in a lot of ways I do. It's still got its government regulations. There's actually 4 different police agencies that patrol Slabs. Most people think that there aren't any police there, but that's just YouTube bullshit. But I think if maybe not anarchist, I will at least say it's the closest to a libertarian city that I have ever seen. And all 3 of us here are staunch libertarians who believe that you can do whatever you want so long as you're not hurting anyone. And that is a very ingrained Slab City culture too, right? Like, don't hurt anybody, and you can do what you want, be who you want, and you'll be accepted with open arms. So
I think the kids call it "you do you, boo." Is that?
Yeah,
I'm young and hip.
But Slab City is a great example of that. And yes, there are their dipshits, but the entire community shuns them. So we don't need the police to get them out of our community. We do that by just not accepting them into our community.
Disassociation.
And it's an entire culture that does that. And Slab City is a great example of that.
Yeah.
And I think it can be done so much better. Yeah, so Robin says to respect the NAP. And yes, exactly. Respect the non-aggression principle.
Absolutely.
Don't be aggressive. It's not, and we all fail at that sometimes. But it's so respect the NAP, and that's really what Slab City comes down to. Even though things changed every season there, but yeah,
that's it. And I think the entire cannabis community has lived by the non-aggression principle, therefore making them staunch libertarians their entire life without realizing it. It's just something that a group that's oppressed and demonized for so long comes to. Look, you're either going to be angry and lash out, but luckily if you're smoking weed, you're going to humble up and do more for your neighbor and do more from your community, and that's all the cannabis community does. And you guys keep doing that. We're going to head on out of here because I've got the munchies.
I am hungry too, actually, now that you mention it.
I want another breakfast burrito, but we're totally running out of eggs, and that's sad.
I got
want
a whole
chicken.
dozen eggs in the camp fridge that you can
Oh,
help.
yeah.
Oh,
see, community
snap.
help. That's
Woo,
what's
yay,
up.
community.
Now we've got chicken periods to eat.
Chicken periods.
That's what they are. They're not like an...
Are they?
Yeah, it's the
Oh my
chicken
God.
shedding the egg, isn't it?
Stop it.
If it was embryo, like if it had been fertilized, then it'd be an embryo, but it's not. It's just a period.
I don't want any beaks in my
Food
eggs.
for
She's
thought.
like, don't want a burrito anymore.
Okay,
Thanks.
maybe we'll
Thanks for
do like
Oh, I'm getting a lot of likes for that.
instead.
I love that.
All right, I'm out. Commander-in-Chief Gianna Mary Jane, reminding you to pass joints, not judgment, because we are all in this together with my cohort.
Zig.
Nomadic Zig.
Babylonian Zig.
Babylonian Zig. Zag is sleeping inside, and of course,
Jim Freedom.
big igloo geodesic domes.
Yeah, buddy.
Do you
I
get
posted the link for Big Igloo Geodesic Domes in the comments. You know what? I'll just do it again because I can.
Big igloo geodesic domes. You can build your own house with your bare hands
For
Easily.
less than a quarter of the cost.
and less than the heartache than
Fraction
it
of
takes
the
to like go to your 9-to-5 job every day.
Mhm.
Personally, I feel that way. Like,
And
sitting-
it doesn't have to be a home. It could be a storage shed. It can be a jungle gym for your kids. It can be a greenhouse. You can literally do anything with this structure.
We're making a hammock.
a greenhouse.
We have a hammock. We made a chair out of these things.
Yeah, the geodesic throne.
The Geo Throne.
The Geo Throne.
Check
We'll
the
show you
Facebook
that
page
tomorrow.
out. We got a really good catalog out with great pictures.
Yeah. We'll see you guys tomorrow if we're up to it.
Yeah, we'll see.
We got
Tomorrow's
we
a
got
day.
4 more days after today. Maybe we can marathon it to the end. Peace and love, you guys.
Dawn, check it out.
Check it out. Stuff. Smoke weed.